Hi, this is Eric from Minnesota Kung Fu. Today's video is going to be on joint locks and specifically on straight arm bars. So we're trying to show a bunch of different combinations of different ways to apply the straight arm bar. I'm not going to be showing submission ground fighting ones as much. It's going to be more self-defense oriented traditional ones. So the point of them will be to control a person, get them off balance, take them to the ground, or do some sort of breakage or damage to a joint. When I say break, you can actually fracture the bones in here where they connect, but it also can be a tear to the ligaments, which attach the bones together, or which is called a sprain, or a tear to the muscle or tendon. The tendon is where the muscle attaches to the bone, which is a strain. So when I say break, it could be a sprain, or a fracture. Any of those, basically damage to a joint. And that will usually happen, the fracture when you strike hard at. Sprains or strains a lot of times just pushing at a quick action. So if you don't want to hurt the person when you're practicing, don't do quick actions. Tom, come in. So you always want to do nice, slow control actions. The joint's pretty strong on the elbow, so if you do this slow, it's really not very painful. If it is painful, you can tap, and then you can just stop right away at that point. But if you do any sort of quick jerking actions, once it's locked out, that can damage the joint. For his safety, usually keep a slight bend in it, especially if you're working with someone who's not very experienced, so if they get a little bit overzealous, you'll damage the joint. The reason we're not doing the submission ones so much, again, for self-defense, traditionally you wouldn't see a lot of those in traditional martial arts because if you're on the battlefield or fighting for your life, you don't want to be laying on your back trying to tap someone out, those type of things. Plus, if you look at YouTube, do a search for armor, and that's what you're going to come up with. The first couple of pages will all be the jiu-jitsu submission type things where you're doing those type of ground fighting ones. So we won't be doing those in this video. More the point of this is to try and show a lot of different variety to kind of open your mind to different options. Now, if I'm doing a basic lock on this, I just need a lever, some sort of control holding this position here, and then apply pressure right behind the elbow joints, right at the ligament tendon attachment here. So that's basically an opposite action you're doing with that. Now, it doesn't matter what, we're going to show a bunch of different ways to do that. And there's a lot of different entries and ways you can get into these locks. For instance, if I'm doing this, you might be throwing a punch and picking this up and going into a lock there. I might be trying to do some sort of bent arm bar and he straightens out his arm again, and that will go into it. It might be something where I punch and he blocks, and I grab and go into it, or maybe I hit him first, or kick him first to soften up and then go into it. So a lot of times they might not even be the first action, it might be in the middle of something, after you've already hit, and then you take them down into the action like this. So I'm not going to show all the different ways to get into each one of these, I'm just going to show a lot of different ways to do the lock itself. Now, when you're doing like sparring or something, a lot of these locks won't work as well. And the reason for that is, if he's throwing a punch with light contact or I've got a face shielder, his punch is going to stop right about here. If he's not trying to hit me, or it's going to stop right here. But either way, if I'm trying to do this lock that it's just doing with my elbow, I can't reach him at that point. What I need to do is be in this range where he's really trying to hit me, and then I'm in the correct distance to do this lock. So if I try and do it out here, I'm not going to be able to reach him. I'm going to step forward and do it. It's much harder. It's really meant for someone really trying to hit me. So I'm going to do all these slow so you can see it easier, but if I do it faster, here, just punch here, punch faster. Okay. So now this time punch right in my face. So if you're having trying to punch right here in my face at full speed, just to show that this does still work at full speed, so go ahead and punch. Now, in the real action, I would have taken him to the ground using his momentum, or I would have broke his arm on that. But here is just trying to show that, yes, you can apply this at full speed. With these, you see these in all different martial arts, everything from European fight manuals from the Middle Ages to Japanese traditional jiu-jitsu, with the samurai to Shaolin monks, Filipino, Kali, all over. And that shows that these do really work in real life. That's why every country pretty much had their own versions of these. Alright, so we have this basic one here. So that's the first one. It doesn't really matter what I apply. Some people will put the edge of their hand or the palm. That doesn't matter. It's basically trying to control it or break it, if I'm hitting on that. If he punches more with the elbow out this way, I might do an action where sometimes I'll do a breaking action like this. I don't like that as much because you really have to time it perfectly, so usually I'll grab it. It gives me a little bit more leeway on it. If he's punching more this way with it down, I can come here, sidestep it, use my palm coming up, or forearm coming up, at which point you can roll it into that type of action to take him down. It doesn't really matter. The other ones he might be grabbing. If he's grabbing here, I can then pin the hand and then roll this over. If he's grabbing around my waist, I can just turn and do a quick turn action and hyperextend it just like that. Same sort of action. If my hand's out of position on this, say it's punching in, I can come here and I can use my shoulder to do it, or my chest to do it. Be careful on these. It's hard to have good control with your chest and your hand to feel when you're going too far. So it's easy to hyperextend too far on those. I could be doing some sort of joint lock. I could bend wrist lock here, and then doing a break, striking down on this. I could be doing, he's grabbing here, a wrist lock this way, and then apply pressure. I could be doing a wrist lock this way, apply pressure up, and then gain the lock this way would be another option. So again, I'm showing lots of different ways to kind of do the same sort of lock. He could be grabbing my wrist and roll it over, and then use my own elbow to apply pressure to the lock that way. Again, I'm not going to show a lot of these repetitively. You can rewind. Hopefully, I'm showing clear enough that you can see what I'm doing with the single repetition on it. I get a hold of his hand somehow, and then he throws a second punch, or it might be a grab. It doesn't really matter. At this point, he can come up here, use his own arm right behind the elbow to lock. Now, you don't want to apply pressure to the tricep. You won't get as good leverage on. So it's always behind the elbow lock. At this point, I could do this bent wrist lock. I could just torque it, or I could drag it to take it down. I can roll the hand over and pocket it behind my elbow. That looks nice, but honestly, I probably wouldn't do it. So you always got control. You can put it against my body too, same sort of thing. It frees up this hand, but usually I just take him down at that point if I have the arms locked up in here, rather than going to something like this, which looks good, but a little bit less control on it. So, anyways, keep going. One you see in a lot of the European manuals, you come over and do a shoulder lock here. I could come here and break on this side. I don't like the ones where I turn my back as much to the opponent, but if you do it quick, definitely can work. Sometimes the way to get my head around here and go here, that's not something I'm necessarily aiming for, but sometimes you might be in a grappling situation, you might get to a position where you do that. If he's grabbing the neck, I don't remember if I did this one, you can do the same thing, and never there. Pretty much wherever he's got a position on, I can pin it and then apply the leverage to it. It doesn't really matter what he's grabbing on. If I got him bent over a little bit, he's not going down, I can drive my knee down to really force the issue and get him down the rest of the way. If I got him here, he's not going down, I just step in front and sweep the leg out. If I just want to unbalance him a little bit, I might just grab and do a pull here. It's not going to take him all the way to the ground, it's not going to necessarily do a lot of painful things, just to unbalance him enough so I can maybe hit or do something else to him, is more what that is. Then let's go and do sit down ones. So if I take him to the ground, and we're in a position like this, maybe I took him down over my knee or something, I can then apply the pressure here on it. I could be stepping over and applying pressure up this way to do a break. If he's all the way down on the ground, I could apply pressure here on it. Of course, so it doesn't really matter where. Basically, as long as I get the leverage between the sit up again. One that's kind of nice is this one. I can just put my hand right underneath. Then this is against my body, and I can apply pressure up this way and still be striking on it. If he rolls over to his stomach, same sort of thing here. I can drop the knee down. So basically just drop the knee down on top there. I could be stepping over and applying up into my back of my leg or back of my calf. This one I don't necessarily do, but it kind of looks cool. You can put your foot under his wrist And then you can just stomp on it. If you get in the position, it would be a way you could break it. Go and stand up. Okay. Another one would be maybe going for a bent lock, going behind his back, like he straightens out his arm. No, don't straighten out your arm. Otherwise, I feel a bent one if you spin. So then I can just put my hand here, apply pressure down. So that'd be another option. Basically, we're going here, and then it ends up in this type of position. My one hand on top of the other hand, and just apply leverage here. So a lot of different ones. I'm going to show one more on the ground. This one is more for fun. It's not one I would necessarily probably do. But if he's on top, he throws a punch in. So I basically pick up this here. Go a little slower. I can sort of walk you through. Basically, I pick up that punch at my face here, and then I'm going to apply pressure here. So he's going kind of quick on this, so it's not working. He's going to try and walk through punching. Basically, what I want that is what I'm going for. When I go faster, when I'm going slow and he's kind of resisting, it doesn't work so well. So then I can apply a second lock here. Again, that was more for fun. It's not something that I necessarily do. So a lot of different options. You can kind of free flow these. You get into one, get into another. Oh, something I didn't show too is you can also get here, have your back to them, and apply pressure up like this would be an option. If their elbow is down, so that when their elbow is pointing up, they can do a figure 4 here and apply pressure there. Again, I don't necessarily like those return back. Those ones work better on the ground though. You can be laying on the ground, you can get those. But it's definitely a possibility. Again, you can kind of just work your way through different options when you're doing these, kind of feeling how they flow. Of course, you can go into other locks. Anyways, thanks. So just do a variety of things. Experiment, try different styles to take your, as long as you understand lock, experiment with different possibilities, and you can find lots of possibilities. I'm sure once I turn this off, I'll remember half dozen more that I forgot about the video. But it's a good place to get started, just to kind of think outside the box and do a bunch of locks. Thanks.